Hello and welcome back to the How Much Do They Make series. The series we created here at the Humble Penny to help bring you guys the realities of various kinds of careers, whether they be traditional careers or non-traditional careers. Today we've got a cracking guest. Our guest is an IT Sales Recruitment Consultant. Hi Samuel, welcome to the Humble Penny.
Hi, Samuel.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Awesome, welcome man. So do you want to start by actually telling us, give us a background on what you do and for how long you've been doing it.
Cool. So I am in IT sales recruitment consultant. So that basically means any sort of company which needs to build a sales team, I'm in there. Whether that's a SDR, which is a sales development rep, a business development rep, all the way up until C-suite, so account directors. As a company, we fill all of those roles on the sales side and the technical side. And I've been doing that for coming up to a year now. Prior to that, I was working for a charity for a number of years. So the transition was quite a jump, but I'm loving it. I love my team. I love Rapport's IT. I love my boss. There's nothing bad I could say about any. They know I can't say anything bad about them.
Of
I love them all.
course.
So that's me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Awesome.
cool.
So tell us, how did you get into your role? Give us some background into, your journey, what you studied at school, college, university, and your career history.
Cool. Yeah. So I did marketing actually at London Met. And the funny thing is that, so I'm the youngest of three siblings. I've got two older sisters, and my sister Sarah, she actually studied the exact same thing I did in the exact same uni, but 10 years prior. So we always
Interesting.
have a laugh about that, and she got like a
Interesting.
grade slightly more better than I did. But
Help.
coming out of uni, yeah, coming out of uni, I did marketing for a few, small companies, and then I got into working for a charity called Mercy Worldwide, and I did some marketing stuff there too. And then I moved to France. I carried on that for a bit, working with the charity. Came back to London,
Wow.
and basically around sort of 29 or 2020 or
Mm,
2021. I was having a few chats with some friends about because they'd been in they come from a SaaS background, so
okay.
software as a service,
Yeah.
and they were telling me about a lot of the similarities between what I was doing, what they were doing, because they
Mm,
would be also working for the charity, but sort of on a voluntary basis. And they said, Sam, have you ever thought about going into IT sales? I said I
okay.
haven't, and I was got a little bit scared about
Mm,
going into places. In my mind, I was thinking, okay, you're making 200, 300, 400 calls a day. Your boss is on you, and it's just a really intense environment. And they said, no,
Yeah.
no, no, like it's not like that anymore.
mm,
Consider it. So, long story short, around this time last year, I started
mm,
applying for sales roles. I thought, let me just take a jump,
mm,
and I did it a bit differently. So, a friend of mine said, don't just apply traditionally via,
mm-hmm.
the CV route. Just connect with some people on LinkedIn and have some conversations.
Interesting.
Make some video calls and voice calls. So I literally
Wow.
did that. I sent a voice call to a guy called Al at my current company. And I just said, hey, I'm from this charity background. I've got a load of transferable skills. I just wanted
Mm,
to have a conversation. And just because my approach was different, he actually
yeah.
considered me for an interview that
Wow.
week. So we had the interview. And the second interview was funny because Birmingham houses, I don't know, something's a bit different. I got locked in my house. So I was staying with some friends, and I was the only one who didn't have the key at the time.
Yeah.
And so I was locked in half an hour to my interview. I'm like, there is no way I can be late. So I had to basically jump from my kitchen out into my back garden. And I lived on the first floor at the time. So I came to my interview, and they were like, "You don't have a bag on you. Your trousers are scuffed up. Like, what's going on?"
What's going on?
I had to jump out of my window to get to this interview on time. So they were quite impressed.
Wow.
Um, I was like, I really
That
want
is
this.
hilarious.
Yeah.
A bit like the dog
So,
chewed up my homework.
oh yeah, I just knew I couldn't give any excuses.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I made it a point to ask questions in interviews that nobody else was asking. So
Right.
it was during the Christmas time, sort of, and I said, like, what are some books I can study on about recruitment? I don't have a recruitment background in
Hmm.
IT. I'm used to recruiting people in the charity sector. What would you recommend? And they said, we've never had anyone ask those questions before. And it sort of just made it a bit of an edge for me to make
Hmm.
sure that I'm going in a bit comprehensive. Now, if you were to ask me what any of those books said to this day, it's all gone out of my head. All the training was OJT. But yeah, that's a bit of the story of sort of how I got into
Hmm.
IT. Yeah.
That's so
Awesome.
interesting, and thank you for sharing that. I love the
Great
story.
story.
Honestly, it ended
Yeah.
ended pretty well. So, walk us through like a day in the life of an IT sales recruitment consultant. Like you wake up, you know, you log in. Like what happens between that time and like when you log out from work or
hmm
clock out or whatever? Like,
Yeah. So first of all, I mean, you sort of look out the window and you ask yourself, is this really what I want to do? No, I'm joking. No, no. So what I do is, I mean, first thing when I go into the office, a big thing, honestly, for me is my diet when I start. Um,
okay,
yeah, so it's either a porridge. My company, they always know I'm always
they
hunting
hook
for
you up.
bananas. They always
I
know
miss
I'm
you like
hunting for
corporate
bananas in the
corporate
office.
perks.
I hook
Yeah.
you up.
I
Yeah.
Um,
get hookups from Mary for porridge in the morning now. But when I worked in the city, I loved all the
Yeah,
perks, man.
same,
Yeah,
same.
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, they know that I'm either hunting for a banana or I've got some porridge or some coffee, just to start me off. And then I'm basically going through all the emails that are piled up through the 5 p.m. before on the day. So just catching up with all of that. And just seeing how everyone is really. We're
Mhm.
pretty friendly, So we just ask
Yeah.
Jay, did you get up to anything last night? I sit next to my boss and we have a great relationship. So we're always like,
Nice.
having a 15, 20-minute bit of banter before we start.
Catch up.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, the day's pretty much cut into two. Either the first part is about finding candidates that are looking for work through
Hmm.
different programs that we use, such as LinkedIn Recruiter. And
Hmm.
then the afternoon will be new business. So approaching, new companies that we don't have business with yet and sort
Okay.
of seeing what their problems are. It's really that simple.
Hmm.
And it basically catches us up until 5 o'clock. If we've got a bit
Wow.
more to do, then, sometimes it can go to half five, but we're never, forced to. It's only with, I got that niggling feeling if I don't get this done now, then, it's going to be in my mind all day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's split into two, really.
Do you know what? I'm already learning something from you, which is I love that your day split into two. Literally, one bit is looking after potential, like what you've got in your hands already, and people looking for work, and then the other bit is outreach. There's something we can all learn
Mm,
about that
exactly.
as as even as small as business
Business
owners,
owners.
because
Yeah,
like a lot of people don't have that sales hat on, of
Mm.
outreaching,
true.
finding new business. So that's actually a really nice, neat way of kind of remembering that. If you could split your day in two,
Mm,
the other half could be like seeking out new business and
yeah.
building relationships and stuff. I think that's fantastic.
So, what are the top three things or habits that make you a success at what you do?
Oh, so I love that question. The first thing for me that I was taught very early on is every part, you want to take ownership of every single part of the sales process.
Mm.
So one of my directors, he taught me very recently that there's sort of an idea of like an alpha part of our brain and a beta part of our brain. The alpha
Interesting.
is when we're cognitively active. The beta is when we do things just out of habit. And a
Mm.
lot of the sales process can be just things out of habit. You get a
Mm.
CV, you look it over, you speak to the candidate, you see what they're looking for salary wise, why
Mhm.
they're leaving, all these different things. But if you don't take ownership over it, you can miss golden nuggets.
Mm,
So, for example, one of my clients, um, for a while, we had difficulty with sourcing candidates for them. We would have loads of no-shows, candidates that just weren't appropriate, and it can create a bit of a difficulty in the relationship. And
Mm.
so when the account was brought over to me, firstly, I sat down with the client and said, "What's going wrong
Mm.
with our service? What would you like us to change?" And they said, "Well, there's a few things that we just sort of know that we need to change, but what would you suggest to us?"
Mm.
And what we did was we sort of created a process together that
Mm.
allowed us to look at every part of the interview process, e.g., why are candidates no showing? Well, because there's no pre-interview process. It's just a one stage. So it's literally,
Interesting.
previously it would be, you call the candidate, if they're
Mhm,
appropriate, you send
mhm,
them in for the interview.
mhm.
But you don't know if they're, good on the phone. You don't know
Right.
necessarily if they're presentable physically. You only got them on the phone. So
Mhm.
we implemented a video stage process just between us and the client. And that allowed us to, just small things like that really helped us.
Mhm.
So ownership of every part of the process. Second thing I'd say is keeping things simple. I was never really an academic person, and
Love
I like to keep things just basically. I like to compartmentalize
it.
sort of my day process. So the whole, what am I doing in the morning, what am I doing in the evening,
Mhm.
really helps me. And then the
Love
third
that.
thing I think is over accountability. Oh, some people would just call it accountability, but my boss knows I'm always telling him, even if he doesn't ask me, he
Mm.
always knows what I'm doing,
Mm.
whether he likes it or not. And that takes the pressure off of me.
Interesting.
I've been in many sort of roles before where
Mm.
it's always been a case of I'm doing something and then my boss asks, "Hey, have you done this? Have you done that?" And
Mm.
it messes up my flow. And
Mm.
so I would rather just, tell like, during my lunch break, "Hey, just to let you know, this is what I'm doing in the afternoon." Okay, cool. End of day. Oh, this is what I've done. He sits
Wow.
next to me, so
Love
he
that.
doesn't necessarily need to. I don't need to let him know, but
Yeah.
it
Mm.
just helps me to sort of keep him, in a sense, at bay, so that
Mhm.
I can carry on doing what I need to do, and so that I'm not interrupted. Because once I'm interrupted, the train falls off the rails. It takes me half an hour to get mentally back on board. So
Mm.
that's my three.
Do you know what I love about that last one is
Mm.
like I made there's a video we made recently about how to help people to get significant pay rises at work.
Mm.
And one of them is around communicating like what you're actually doing, because a lot of the time like managers can easily just forget over a period of say 3 months or 6 months what their direct reports have actually been doing all that while. So that I think that constant communication and feedback, like even this morning, Mary and I at 5 a.m. club, we're reading a book, and the theme of today's reading was that feedback is a gift, right?
Yes.
So it's funny because like you doing that, that's actually a feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
You get something back eventually by way of either some feedback or by way of you being able to negotiate a better compensation in the future and stuff. So like, I literally
Yes.
really love you sharing that.
Absolutely.
What would you say, Samuel, you love about what you do in IT sales recruitment consulting?
So what I love about my career is there is so much freedom
Mm-hmm.
about how we do business. How
Mm-hmm.
we do business. I mean,
Cool. Mm-hmm.
like, LinkedIn for us is such a jungle, and there are really no rules to how you get clients on board. You have sort of ideas of what the process can be,
Mm-hmm.
but I've had the sort of relationships I have with some of my clients is really just through being nice. And even I had one client that literally said to me, when we were signing terms, I want the sort of recruiter that's going to ask me what I got up to on a weekend. So just those little things I really enjoy
So
about my role.
interesting, isn't it?
Even like a candidate today said to me, we spend most of our time we spend more time with people that we work with sometimes than people that we live with. And so you want to be surrounded by people
Yes.
that are pleasant and
They're
are nice to
decent. They're
deal with.
nice. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and I find that I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not the most. I don't know every single process for recruitment. I don't know, but I tend to find that being pleasant, being hardworking, and being accountable are three things that everyone likes. So
Mm,
those things help me to sort of like my day.
love it.
Love those. Love those. Thank you for sharing. So, what do you find to be the most challenging aspects, or then, of what you do?
So I tend to find that the hardest thing is if I've not prepped a little bit the night before. It doesn't need to be long.
Mm-hmm.
Half an hour just to know what I'm doing. Sometimes what happens is I'll get to my desk and I'll be like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? What do I need to catch up on?
Yeah.
And that really messes me up. It can sometimes, so it means I'm chasing my day rather than being proactive. And I find that
Mm,
when I do that little bit of prep, it just gives me an order of things. Whereas if I wait till the morning, I'm in a completely different state. Maybe I've not had breakfast that
yeah.
morning. maybe I've rushed to work and I'm just not mentally all there. It can take an hour to sort of figure out what I'm doing. So I think the hardest thing is just a lot of it is memory. My boss may ask me, "Oh, do you remember about this candidate, about this client?" And I have to remember on the spot where I'm at. And I'm not great with sort of saying things on the spot in great detail. So the hardest thing I'd say is prepping everything. You are not going to be able to prep everything, but you have to handle the sort of consequences of not being able to be completely prepped at all times because we're not robots. That's what I'd say the hardest thing is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right, let's shift gears. Let's talk money. This is a personal finance
Cool.
channel. People are always super curious about what people earn in their roles and industries. So, speak to us about what you earn in your capacity as a IT sales recruitment consultant,
Cool.
and from what sources. Like, what's the structure of your compensation, that sort of stuff.
hmm Yeah, so currently I'm on 25K with a 15K OTE. I have a several.
What's OTE? Just so people.
Oh, so is on top earnings.
Okay.
So basically a 15K commission,
Right.
and that's an average. So how that breaks down is that is the average of what I can expect to earn through
Uh-huh.
several different metrics in a yearly basis,
Got it.
pre-tax.
Got it.
Yeah, so that's measured upon what sort of the average is for somebody that's coming in at my stage of the company,
Yeah.
um, sort of peer OTE,
Right.
sort of peer commission structure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
So just so we understand, um, so the OTE, the on top earnings, is not a bonus,
so
or
I've
is it?
actually
I'm
I'm
just trying
not.
to understand.
Yeah, so how that works is it's it's basically per per candidate
Yeah.
I would source for a client.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have a remuneration,
Yeah.
um, um,
A percentage
fee.
you earn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We have a fee, and that is then converted to a percentage for me,
Yeah.
and that would be the percentage that I would earn
Hmm.
from basically that sale being done.
Right.
So it's not necessarily a bonus based on performance from the company,
Got it.
but it was just the result of the sale that was made
Hmm.
and my contribution or my fee from that sale made.
Got it. So do you always get that on top earnings, or is it variable? That 15K, is it like, do you get it on a per month basis, or how does that play out in reality?
So it's variable. I mean, if you're performing below average,
Mhm.
then you can expect to not make that.
Got it.
And so you always have to be on top of, I'm always asking, like, where am I in terms of my performance? Where am I in terms
Right.
of my average metrics? And that gives me a good understanding,
Mhm.
obviously, of what I'm to earn. And
Mhm.
there's several different variables that come into place. So it
Oh
depends
yeah.
on if the client is gonna, if they're paying
Mhm.
that month. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you've got to wait a bit longer. Obviously, I have my base that's fixed,
Mhm.
but I know that if I'm performing to the averages that I've been given, I
Mhm.
can make that 15K. But
Got it.
where and how I would earn that 15K can be quite a variable.
Got it.
So, what's the maximum income potential for somebody who is an IT sales recruitment consultant?
Oh, gosh, I guess the sky's the limit, really.
Really?
From what
Okay.
from what I know, I mean, I've known probably my bosses will laugh at these numbers because I'm obviously I might even be sort of minimizing these numbers. 120K base, 150K base, and then
Right.
the on top commission can be, gosh, that really it really depends then on whether a company is going to cap it. So sometimes in sales,
Right.
you have companies that will cap the amount of commission that you earn. Sometimes they don't.
Mm.
So I know with kind of I'm currently working at, there's no cap.
Mhm.
So there's people that are earning,
Like that. Mm.
in like the potential to earn could be 200, 300, 400K.
Wow.
That is
Wow.
pre. in terms of what they're earning for the company
Yeah.
pre pre their commission
Pre that
percentage.
commission,
It
right?
depends on their commission percentage, and then it's obviously pre when the company's going to pay. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So let me understand that a little bit. So imagine, yeah, that like you were placing someone who's maybe earning 50K a year.
Hmm.
Then your company has a percentage that they get. So
Yeah.
I know that those vary. It could be like 20%, it could be whatever, right? Let's say it's a
Hmm.
percentage, right? Um, Typically, for that 50K salary, what might end up being the proportion that's yours? Is it
Yeah.
5%? Is it 10%? Just give me a sense for how that plays out.
Yeah. So if it's a 50K, let's say, for example, the company, we're offering a 15% fee for that candidate,
Yep. Mhm.
then I would typically earn 15% of the 15%.
Got it.
So
Right.
my math is terrible. I couldn't tell you right off the gate what that is,
Oh
but
no,
yeah.
but that's
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 fine.
that's quite clear.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's quite clear. It's 15% off 15%. Anyone can kind of work that out
Yeah.
on the calculator if they wanted to. So that makes a lot of sense. So thank you for clarifying that. I tell you what I love about the sales role, and the thing that really um, uh, you know makes me I get very excited about when I meet people who are in sales.
Mm.
You know, I've worked in finance all my career, and obviously I've stopped working in finance and I do what I do today. However, in one job I had, I my job was always obviously being head of finance a lot of the time in various companies. I've got insight into what everybody earns, right? So I see everybody's paycheck, so I know now. And so one thing as one particular job I had, and this one guy, my part of my job was to work out his sales commissions every month, right? And he would go home, and I kid you not, because this will make some people literally fall off their seats when I say the number. He would earn over £200,000 a month.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
So,
Yeah.
and you're probably listening to that and going, "What? How?" So, a lot of this has to do with what niche you work in, what area of sales. So, for example, this was in prime brokerage.
Yeah.
Is in that sort of arena, and so that means that some people can earn silly money, like unbelievable, and which is why later on we're going to talk about like your relationship with money, because like you know the particular individual I was referring to, his relationship money was very very let's just say not very good, you know, shall we say. So you have scenarios where people can earn a lot of money, but that also leads to spending quite a lot of money, so
Yeah.
but we're going to be unpacking what that looks like. um what top three pieces of advice would you give someone who's listening to you right now and saying, do you know, I kind of quite like the idea of not having a cap on my income. I want to do what Samuel's doing. I want to earn what he's earning and have that future potential of a lot of income. What top three pieces of advice would you give that person?
Cool. The first thing I'd say is, when before I got into IT sales, I was really worried about if I would be appropriate as a person for IT
Mm.
sales. And I had a lot of preconceptions in my head about what that role would look like. I would encourage anybody to actually ask people in that role,
Mm.
ask them what are you afraid of most about your role? What do you like about your role? And
Mm.
get properly educated. I think gone are the days of, the whole Wolf of Wall Street
Mm.
crazy lifestyle that people can
Yeah,
sometimes see, or
yeah,
Mad Men, or what have you. Just ask people.
yeah,
Sales has sort of changed a lot in the past 40 years.
yeah.
The second thing I'd say is to have a realistic understanding of what commission looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that it's not like something that you're not going to be taxed on. Be realistic. Know the limitations. But three is to find out, okay, what would you want to do within sales? Because there's many different
And many different
avenues
roles.
within sales.
Yeah.
There's many different. So if I mention software as a service, well,
Mm.
what sort of software? Is it software for the education field, for the health
Yeah.
sector?
For
you
tech,
can
yeah.
very you can very easily find out that there are so many different avenues within sales that somebody might enjoy, that they're afraid of because they don't think they have the education, the knowledge, or the prep. Ask. and
Yeah.
find out and do a bit of digging on Google. And that
Yeah.
way you'll sort of know how you can apply your skills to sales.
Got it.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. So we're going to shift gears a bit and talk personal finances. So we just want to hear from you. Like, what is your personal relationship with money like?
Oh gosh, it's a love-hate relationship. I can say that right away.
Why is that?
No,
Tell us about it.
yeah. No, so for me, I mean, I, I have I have a much better relationship, I'd say, with finances. I'm sort of at the tail end of paying off all of my debts, which I'm so happy about.
Yeah.
You know, for a
Well
little
done, man.
while, I was all about like, okay, what overdrafts can I take out? What credit cards can I take out? You
Mm.
know, and I remember like my very first overdraft, I only took that out when I was, I think I was like 17 at the time,
Right.
because I wanted to go on a trip to LA. And
Mm.
that stayed with me for like the
Wow.
next 10 years. So,
What?
yeah. And so I never got round, and it was £500, and I never got round to paying it off. And I was like,
Wow.
and I wasn't paying like a major amount of interest on it, but I was like, why don't I just do something about this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So very slowly, and that's part of what I like about the sales
Mm.
industry as well. It's that it's one where if you're really looking at attacking debt, it's a
Mm.
great avenue for
Mhm.
a great career for attacking debt.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I'm paying off most, like literally next week payday. I'm paying off a whole another debt, and that's like out of that, one left after that. Very happy.
Love it.
Um, but I mean, I've done everything in the past. Like formerly, I was gambling, and it was really bad.
Wow.
The way that I got into that was through some side hustles that didn't involve gambling, but were a gateway into gambling. And then I was fully
Oh,
gambling, and it was
okay.
really bad. Yep,
What's that side hustle? I'm just curious, actually.
it's match betting.
Match
Ah,
betting.
Yes, which
interesting.
Oh.
I initially had I was earning good money,
Yeah.
but I very quickly had to accept I have a very addictive personality, and
Mm,
it
Yeah.
wasn't good for me. You know, my partner at the time, her father was into cryptocurrency,
Yeah.
and a lot of people and he made great money out of that. But
Mhm.
for me, it wasn't good. It really affected my
Mhm.
relationship because it was the first thing I was looking at when I was waking up in the morning. It was the last thing I was looking at before I went to bed. It was very addictive, and I lost
Mm.
loads of money
oh my gosh.
through different side hustles
Mm,
that just weren't good for me, that were
Wow.
losing me money rather than being. So I was the side hustle for them
Wow.
rather than the
gosh.
other way around.
That's so interesting to hear that from you
Honestly.
because
Whew.
we get our audience do ask us a lot about what our views are on match
On
betting,
match
and we
betting.
always say like we don't recommend it to anybody,
Yeah,
and
we're zero interest.
zero interest. Yeah, so
Mhm,
Zero
it's just
interest.
mhm.
interesting
For this
hearing
reason.
from you, you know,
Yeah.
your actual experience with it.
Yeah.
You know, so
So it's just so good to hear that, and we've even been approached by companies that,
to
want
do
to partner with
sponsorship.
us and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
We're like, nah, we're not interested, because like we care a lot about the eventuality, the outcome for the people who listen to what we teach on our channel. It's
Mhm.
not,
Mhm.
we have to be very, very careful, like how we promote and how we promote it. And, because for some people it could lead to this outcome,
Yeah.
which I know that that's not the case for everybody, obviously, but I'm just saying that there is a likelihood, and you're a good example of that. You've really made it clear to us today that, this can actually happen. Just out of interest, do you have a side hustle today? And if so, what is it?
Yes.
And have you been?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. So, funny enough, the way that I got into my sort of side hustle now, I help a friend. We do tacos at different events in and around Greater
Okay.
London. Yeah, so it's his full-time business, but I work with him throughout the year, and I've
Yeah.
done so for the past 6 years. The way that I got into that was when I was in university, I was working for a temp agency that were
Mm.
basically, for staff, for food trucks and whatnot. And I
Mm-hmm.
struck up a relationship with this guy, and he ran his own truck. He bought it from Normandy. It used to be a fire truck. It was an old Citroen van.
Mm.
Converted it, and he'd be doing festivals, film sets, different
Okay.
celebrity events and stuff. And so now, basically every week, maybe it's a couple of times a week, or a couple of times. A couple of times a week, could be once a week, could be
Yeah.
3 or 4 times. He will say, "Hey Sam, I've got this event. Are you up for it? You free? Yeah, I'll come up." And it's so good because
Yeah.
it's super chill. It's 2 hours
Yeah.
of like it's a half an hour to set up. We do these tacos, half
Mm-hmm.
an hour to put down. I'm
Mm-hmm.
home within an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a great way of earning side money. It's super simple. I make great food. I've learned how to make great food. And yeah, we've done Pinewood Studios. We've done
Wow.
a couple of the Doctor Stranges. We've done oh gosh, we've done Jurassic World. We've met different celebrities.
What?
So it's really a great. It's like a hidden side hustle that no one knows about, but now they know. Yeah,
Wow.
get to know your food trucks.
Food trucks.
Interesting. We experienced food trucks for the first time
Yeah.
at a festival we went to, and it was awesome.
It's yeah. Go on. Share some more.
No,
Share
the
some more.
tacos food truck in particular was very popular. Like it
Yeah.
had long queues, like the biggest queues out of all the other
Yeah.
food trucks. So
Yeah. There's also like Chuku's who we met. Chuku's the Nigerian restaurant.
oh yeah,
They
they
had
were
they had a
there.
store.
We were
They
so
were
happy to
amazing.
see them. They were
Mm,
I shout them out everywhere. Like if you've not had their food, you want to go and try their food. If you love,
yeah.
it's just
I
Nigerian
need
food.
to go. I need to
Delicious.
go.
It's
Oh,
brilliant with a
they're
twist. With a
awesome.
twist.
They're
It's a brother
brilliant.
and sister team. You want to
Yeah.
definitely go and
I
check them
think I've
out.
heard of them. Yeah, I think I've heard of
Okay,
them.
they're in
I'm yet
London.
to.
They're in
They're
like
based in North London.
Finsbury Park type area. That's where they're
Okay.
based. Yeah, check them out. CHUKUS. Definitely worth checking out. But speaking of food trucks, I did a bit of like my post grad in Cambridge, and there's always like this burger joint. There's this burger van that would show up and serve burgers just outside, like outside school and stuff. And I used to really just think to myself, wow, isn't this like a really cool side hustle? Like they'd always sell out, always sell out. I'm like, what does it take to actually get yourself like a truck, like a converted van or something, and get out there and like serve people like a particular cuisine that they're interested in? Like I think that'd be really cool. So how what sort of money are you making then from this side hustle on a monthly basis?
Oh gosh. Well, let's see. So we I have quite a generous agreement with my tackle guy because obviously I'm coming in from Birmingham to
Right.
Greater London. So I one event for a 2 hour service, I'm earning £100.
Ooh,
If I
okay.
do two of those in a weekend, so eight of those in a month, £800 easily.
Wow,
Yeah,
Wow. That is good money.
that's awesome.
and food. So I
And
take food
food.
home with me.
Food.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
experience.
Exactly.
And
yeah,
experience, because you're
and
You're always
connection.
somewhere else.
and
Yes,
connections.
yes,
Yeah.
Wow. Guys, let us know in the comments if you're gonna be starting this side hustle or at least exploring it. Let us know.
yes.
Sam is here to answer all your questions related to it.
So Sam, what can you tell us? Like, what did you learn from your parents about money growing up?
Whether it's good or bad, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the one thing my parents never compromised on was paying the bills.
Right.
So for me, that was so important
Mm.
because it was only until sort of my early teen years that I'd heard stories of, people that would have eviction notices and,
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
maybe the electric would go out or something like that. I never experienced that apart from what I've just
Mm-hmm.
experienced just now, which is nothing to do with bills.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but yeah, like the one thing that my mum always made sure was that that all the bills taken, they were meticulous, they were militant
Wow.
about
Right.
knowing when things are going in, when things come
That's
out.
so good, man.
And so the knock-on effect was a lot of times as a kid, I'd ask, "Oh, can I get this? Can I get that?" And it was a lot of times it was no, 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 no. And I was like, "Oh, that's not fair. I want that toy. I want that
Yeah.
thing." But growing up, I realized now actually, that's a good thing because what would I rather have? Would I rather have this toy or this thing and no electricity or no running water,
Yeah.
or the opposite? And that really, yeah, that was the main thing that I think my parents taught me was never ever, no matter what it is, never skimp on the bills.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Because it was interesting when you mentioned like the traffic light system that
Yeah.
you use when it comes to paying bills, which is quite unique. Did you get that
Do you
from
want
your
to
mum?
just share a bit about that actually? Yeah.
Yeah, so funny enough, I got that from, so I was a big gamer when I was younger.
Mm.
And I remember it was like an online game, and there was like a traffic light system for doing certain objectives and stuff. And red meant you haven't started it yet, yellow meant you were pending, and green meant you'd finished it. And I just carried that with whatever I did. So
Okay.
every sort of list I would make, I would just color code things like that. And
Yeah.
so when it came to finances, I just did the same thing, and it just stuck with me ever
Yeah.
since.
Oh, brilliant.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really love, I really love, again, this speaks to your idea earlier of you looking at life in a simple way. You're like compartmentalizing and really keeping things really simple. And obviously, a traffic light just gives you three options: it's either red, green, or amber. You know,
Yeah.
it's one of those three, and it's nothing else. You know, so I really love that you have that system going. Can we speak about spending? Right, let's speak about spending. So, on a monthly basis, like what are you typically spending most of your money on? And also, are there any things you do to treat yourself on a monthly basis?
Oh, okay. The so after all the bills have gone, whatever I have left,
Hmm.
um, most of it tends to go on food, actually. I'm a big
Okay.
food guy.
How much? Okay, what is your monthly food bill? That's what I want to know. Like,
Oh
what's
gosh, that blends in between. It really depends. So because of the food truck stuff that I do, I
right,
tend to buy a lot of high quality, either high quality ingredients to cook with,
right.
or I tend to just like a lot of places that I've been pretty spoiled when it comes to eating sort of good quality food. So
Yeah.
I tend to find that honest, I would love to say the most I spend my money on is investing, or the most I spend my money on is this.
No,
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 really,
it's good to
the
hear the
thing I
reality. I
spend the
actually
Yeah,
want to hear
most
it.
on is
definitely.
food. Yes. I used to be like really big on like the whole Just Eat, Deliveroo, Uber Eats thing.
Right.
Now I'm not so much, but I do tend to spend, if I was to put an amount,
Hmm.
probably between my base food budget is between 60 to 80 pounds for that month. Um, but it can go up to 200, it can go up to
Right.
250,
Okay.
depending on what I want to get, or the events or whatever I want to buy.
Right.
Um, I can, and I'm the sort of person where if I want to cook something or make something really, really good, I want to share that with people. So
Right.
I do tend to ask my friends, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm free. Okay, just come to mine, or oh, let's go to this place. I'm buying.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It just doesn't escape. It escapes my mouth. Oh, I'm buying. Oh, I'm gonna
Uh,
say it. And so yeah, that that tends to be the thing.
I love it. Honestly,
yeah, that's brilliant.
I can't like. There's nothing bad about like you just. I mean, like if you're spending money on good quality food. I mean, that's
That's
amazing. Like,
exactly,
oh, I
exactly.
should mention a really good friend of mine runs a company called Gusto. You might have heard of them.
I
So
know good stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So he, yeah, that might be something you might want to explore because it's actually really,
Yeah.
really since you're already used to, but you know, all this like Just Eat and all that, kind of push those to the side. You know, Gusto and stuff. They bring you like good quality food, um, that
Great quality.
you can then yeah, great quality. I should yeah.
This is not
I'll give it a
sponsored.
try.
This is not
This is
sponsored.
not
Sorry,
sponsored.
we're just saying because it's
Yeah.
a friend of mine who runs this company. It's worth anyway. It's worth checking out.
So, Samuel, can you think of a specific money mistake or regrets that you made growing up? And yeah, what have you learned from it?
Right. So I remember in uni, one of my first ever student grant paychecks that I got.
Yeah.
Like I remember it like it was yesterday. I'm walking down the street. I'm looking to get lunch. Boom, 12:01. I've got an extra grand in my account, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like walking the streets of gold. What do? I go and buy
How old
clothes.
were you? How old were you?
Oh, I was. How would I have been? I would have been 19 at the. I would have been
19.
19 then.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, what I go and buy clothes from China off of eBay, and
Wow.
the sizes
Oh no.
like were totally different.
Oops.
So to us, a medium to them would be like an extra large. Well,
Right.
I hadn't realized that connection. So I'm
Hmm.
looking at all these. I had no idea about good clothes quality at the time. Now I do, but
Clothes from
I had no idea.
China. Okay.
So I'm buying all these clothes, and I'm like, why is it super small, or why is the threads already coming out? And this is stuff that would have taken a month to arrive, and I
Oh,
had no idea. And by then already, I couldn't really refund some of it, but it was just all like, man, this is not great. So
mm,
that was probably one of the funny money mistakes that I made, just spending hundreds of pounds on this clothes. I thought, oh, this is so cool. I wouldn't wear
Yeah.
it if you paid me today, but
Wow.
it was really, yeah, it was not a great time.
let's wrap this up by asking you about, what you think, what would you say is your ultimate financial goal? Okay, so cast your gaze into the next 10 years of your life, 15 years, 20 years. Like, what do you want out of life financially? Like, what is it you believe you're working towards?
Yeah, I love that question. So I've been very fortunate in the past few years to have people in my life that have a great relationship with money. And I look at the sort of so things like having great healthcare
Mm-hmm.
is a big like I would love to be in a stage in 10 years time where I can say I have the same I had better health at 38 than I did at 28, and that I'm on the track to have better health at 48 than I did at 38. That's a big thing for me.
That's fascinating.
Having great so my best friend growing up, he's now a doctor
Mm.
in he's sort of in Greater London, and I can't tell you the amount of times I've come to him, but like, oh, I mean, I've got this thing wrong with me. Can you diagnose
Mm.
it? Yeah, sure. You know, it's like instant sort of medical help, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
having great healthcare. I
Mm.
want my kids to be able to go to a great school and a great
Mm.
comprehensive school. So
Mm.
one of my sisters, she's actually looking to take one of her kids into boarding school,
Mm.
and the sort of curriculum that they have,
Yeah.
it's basically backed by military people from the military that have funded into that school, and
Interesting.
it's great learning for kids to things that they can take for long term. Great to go into careers like engineering or whatever. You know, I want that for my family. I
Mm.
want them to eat good. I want them to learn. All these things, I don't really care for. Like, I'm from London. I don't really need a car. Train
Mm.
system, public system, great here. I'm not thinking about a flash house or a flash car.
Mm.
I'm really more about making sure that we have a great quality of life and that we have great experiences.
Mm.
Mm.
So, to answer it in a simple sentence, 10 years from now, I want to be surrounded by a healthy family and great friends, and to have a home that people can go to and feel safe.
Oh,
That's really all I want.
Do
really,
you know
really
what?
love that. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the point in, working and hustling so hard when you don't have a good health to actually enjoy, when you do have that, downtime. Health is so important.
Health is
And it's
wealth,
something
isn't
that
it?
health is wealth, exactly, and it's
Mm.
something that people do often neglect on their pursuit to, their money goals, and so
Mm.
that's really, we love that.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think I think we're doing our best to talk more about health. Like Mary and I
Mm.
are focusing even more so on our journey and talking about it. Really like prioritizing health even more so. And I think this is a very important topic because like someone said to me recently, they said like, culturally, like, Mary and I are Nigerian heritage,
Likewise.
like likewise, and someone said, and they were like, oh, people they hustle, they want to try and get five houses, blah blah blah. But what's the point of all that if you're gonna die in your 40s because your
Yeah.
health is deteriorated? You've stressed yourself out so much. You've picked up mental problems. Like you're just not in a good place. What is the point of that? And I just thought, that's actually a really, really fantastic way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you want really is longevity, right? You want to
Mm-hmm.
protect yourself, protect your body, protect your mind, protect your spirit. Like
Mm-hmm.
you want to be around to enjoy all the hard work, enjoy all this learning, all
Yeah.
this work experience, all this saving, all that. You want to be around to actually enjoy it with your
People
your
you love.
people, the people you
Yeah.
love, your
Yeah.
Hmm.
spouse, your kids, your parents, whoever, your siblings.
Yeah.
That's what it's really about. Like I recently celebrated my dad's 70th, and I was
Yeah.
sitting with him, and he was saying to me how like his parents, none of his people ever made it to 70. He's like the first one,
Hmm.
the
Wow.
first one. And I was like, wow, like that is serious,
Yeah.
because in that part of the world, like smaller illnesses and stuff, we're not, there wasn't like available healthcare to treat things like that.
Right.
So people
Mhm.
passed away. Life expectancy was just not what we see today. So
Mm.
what's interesting about it when I'm thinking about it is even though, like for example, we live in and around London, we live in the UK and stuff where you have fairly good healthcare relative to other parts of the world. Even with that, we're almost self-inflicting a lot of ill health on ourselves by
Mm.
just like overactivity,
Overindulgence.
stress, overindulgence,
Diet. Poor
not
diet.
lack of like not just wanting everything now. Like there's this I don't know, there's this thing that exists, this consumerist culture. We're almost
Mm.
eating ourselves up,
Yeah.
and almost
Really?
we're almost pressing the self-destruct button. So I just feel this topic you've brought up about health is just so important,
Yeah.
like so important. Because like no one goes, like you don't die with all your assets, do you? Like if you're not
Exactly.
around, like somebody else just picks that stuff up.
Yeah.
Somebody else inherits. They get a letter, an email one day, go, oh yeah, you've just been awarded or
Yeah.
and then they're like, oh yeah, thanks. And that's it. Move on. So anyway, thank you, Sam, for you've been an incredible guest. This has been such a fascinating. I almost feel like we're actually going to break this interview. We're going to like split it into two. It's like I just feel like this is like a there's some really really powerful. There's obviously the bits around career. There's so many bits around match better. There's so many really really good things we've covered today that I just think are just gold. And we want to make sure that people really learn from this. That's the whole point of us doing this series. If someone wanted to reach out to you just to say hey or connect or whatever, what's the best way for them to do that?
You know what? I spend so much time with my taco guy. So I am like invisible on social media. You want to reach me, Taco Truck 2009. So we actually we both use that Instagram.
Okay.
So reach out to me on that. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Samuel Ajayi. You see my face, you know who to find. Those are the two ways.
Taco Trump 2009. Okay, and we'll find you Samuel Ajayi on LinkedIn. Now we'll put all those details. If you can also share it with me as well, any links, Sam, via email, so I can put it all in the resource section of this video. That'd be great.
Thank you so much for your honesty, transparency. It's been such a great discussion, like Ken said. And guys, thank you for watching. If you love this, make sure you hit the like button. Share this video also with somebody who you think will find it valuable.
Don't forget to subscribe. We want you to subscribe. Show us the love.
That's right.
Show us the love. Give us a signal that you love what we're putting out.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. And as always,
in all things, be thankful and seek joy.
Take care.
Take care, people. Thank you, Sam. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. Take care.